I thought I'd wrap this series up at the convenient number of 100. Same as my other YouTube show, not that one. After exhausting the bands and the topics that I have anything near to expertise on. But I also thought The Cure might actually get their final album published this year. Soundgarden would never reconcile the rights for their last recordings, and IMX seemed fine, then had 3 rapid-fire albums, except one of them isn't as rapid-fire as planned, maybe? Dunno. Those are expensive. And I couldn't do a video on Chris Cornell's dodgy non-Soundgarden stuff without having done Soundgarden. And there's also a few things that I've just not been in the mood for in these past couple of years. I might have mentioned Weezer enough times to necessitate having a go at that dreadful endeavor. But it's worth escaping the spell of listening to full discographies for a while. I bet I'll still listen to full discographies. And maybe that way I'll actually get new tastes to tell you about. Or just not feel the need to. For one thing, I need to make videos less. Maybe so I can make music more. Or maybe it's the concept of having anything better in my life. If I didn't cut down, I'd end up ranking like the Wiggles albums. This show is an unoriginal thing to do, and having it as my main thing for 2 years on the very regular, stable mental health schedule of 50 episodes per year, but generally like 3 in a week and then nothing for a few weeks, is probably enough. But there's also no need to rule out any future episodes, especially when I was holding off on specific future episodes. I'm definitely getting to the thinner end of this collection, and that was the intention. I'm getting to some in here where I have every or nearly every album, but just nothing clever to say. Siouxsie and the Banshees, it was when listening and realizing that I think the popular album Join Hands, not found here, is actually rubbish, that I decided to stop keeping things that I didn't enjoy and maybe do that via something I can present, but ultimately I couldn't present something about this band. I don't mind having that one hot take, it's my thoughts on the rest of this that I can't make interesting. The super furry animals are equally impressive on every album except the one I don't have a copy of. They just drift from punk to prog, like a Flaming Lips you can trust. Then there's stuff like Flaming Lips, whose discography mocks the very idea of ranking them, who have an album on 4 discs to be played at the same time, a 24-hour track, a gummy skull, some kind of car park megaphone experience, all these collaborations and covers of whole albums, and they use it all as a distraction from their actual good work, but in a way that's so inherent to them that I kinda almost respect it. Kinda. Beck released an album without audio. I intend summary episodes that throw together those kinds, well-known enough things where I'm allowed to pick and choose at their discography because it's more rewarding than trying to take the whole thing in. But if I compile it with other artists, I'm not falsely advertising a video. I'm not going to upset the thousands of commenters who come in each time. I've noticed that a ranking stack always kinda highlights the very top one, as much as my format attempts to obviate the suspense and emphasis. Commenters will say I'm wrong with what's top, but the thing is, David Bowie's best album isn't loads better than his next dozen or so best albums. I actually intended this show to kind of thin out the CD collection, to take note of what I'm literally not going to listen to and get it away. That was always naive, and I kind of knew it because I'd end up buying the last one missing to present it in a video, and then it feels weird to choose not to have the full set of someone's album length releases. What would you rather have, a full collection or things you enjoy? I also intended to somewhat move on from the compulsion to listen to things as albums on CD, which has its cost and limits my musical input. It excludes newer stuff, and it refuses to embrace the vast availability that results from the internet, at least the pre-collapse of Bandcamp internet. Has Bandcamp entirely collapsed yet? I spend nearly all of my time staring at a laptop computer, and if I put music on that, it feels a bit too close and intrusive, blasting from the top of my lap. Making it a room sound feels a lot more involving, and CDs work this way. Maybe modern people rig up streaming services to their speaker system, and that doesn't skip. And even if we point out how terrible the rates are, the highest rates would be having the CD and doing the streaming. With this series, I was trying to access my sincere enthusiasm, and I think I managed. I'm just getting to the tail end of it. There wasn't much playful or subversive about this show. I didn't even do a joke episode. I've occasionally dressed appropriately. One time I wore spooky makeup. And there's the intro snippet parody things. I know I chickened out of those a few months ago when I reached a set of artists I just can't imitate. But some of the pitch shift ones were bad too. In reverting to a generic intro theme, I thought I'd do a new Season 2 one, but realized the first iteration of that would seem like it's meant to be an imitation of the first act. If I do more episodes, I'm not promising any more of those because the format will loosen. With a couple of negligible exceptions, I've done all of this unscripted, which is kind of new to me. I feel I have conversational wit, but I freeze up on camera. And this was an exercise to get better at that, to use albums as my cue cards and sincerity as my material. And I'm making that sound like some radical performance when it's just a very base ability to say stuff that you mean. Different things are radical to different people. I meant to provide enough descriptions to sate both the familiar and unfamiliar audience a listener's guide. It's intended that everything I cover, at least part of their discography, is something I find just frisson-y, thoroughly artistic. Honestly, maybe a couple of exceptions, but it's up to you to find them. It seemed a good rule of thumb to do about a minute per album, and those videos where it's turned out briefer do make me wonder if I could have offered more description, but sometimes it's just music that's not about depth. As well as practicing unscripted material with which I'm still not confident, I was getting used to presenting as visible in my bloated middle-aged body with which I'm still not confident. These teeth look so yellow lately. I don't know how to make them look less yellow. Maybe I need to make them be less yellow? I can recognize patterns to this content, words I overuse, maybe even structures and commentary punchlines I overuse, because of similarities in discographies and band stories. The amount of bands I like that broke up in the ooies and reformed when the nostalgia cycle had completed could be parodic, but it's just truth. Going through all these videos, you can at least get many extracts of me saying bum. That's another one. So 100 isn't an ending. I've got other ideas to cover in bonus tracks, in Lucy's, and in straight-up album ranks. But the better idea is to have a break and escape the format a bit.